Hi, this is Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextral Gunfighter. Returning to our next episode on the Mossberg MVP Scout. The natural habitat of the general purpose rifle is the field, the forest, the desert, and the mountain, not the shooting shed with its bench rest. To be really useful, a rifle must be as short, light, and quick to use as is technically compatible with adequate power and useful accuracy. What matters is not what the equipment can do, but rather what it will do in the hands of its operator under field rather than laboratory conditions. Jeff Cooper. What is the best scout scope? Well, for one of my criteria is that I'm able to run it with both eyes open, and specifically I'd like to run it both eyes open on starting at least at a 1x magnification, that is no magnification, so I can maintain full binocular vision, where basically my brain combines the image within the scope with the crosshairs with the outside eye sees of the rest of the terrain, puts it all together in my brain, and I see a crosshairs, and it just looks like it's all together on the target, and the scope just kind of fades away. In my opinion, the Weaver V3 makes a better scout scope, but it's a conventional scope. And it can mount, one of the reasons also is because it can mount very low given its 1.5 inch eyepiece. Check out our review on the Weaver V3, be the link down in the description. Now there are a number of scout scope offerings. We'll start, one of them, for example, would be my preferred, is the Leupold VX Freedom Scout 1.5 to 4. I like because it's, while it's not a 1x, at least it's 1.5x, and your brain can combine that together with that low of a magnification. And although its objective is, although its eyepiece is 1.6 inches, so that would require higher rings than I was able to use with the Weaver V3. But I do prefer the lower magnification range offered by this optic over the other offerings. The other is the Vortex Crossfire 2 Scout. It's a 2 to 7 power. Its eyepiece is also 1.6 inches, so that would require the higher rings than the Weaver V3. There's also the Hi-Lux Scout, which is also a 2 to 7 power, and looks like, the best I can tell, it would require medium or higher rings as well. Burris offers a 2 to 7 power Scout with eyepiece is 1.5 inches, so that might just work with the low rings, getting it low over the bore. And the Burris Fixed magnification 2.75 Scout, its eyepiece is 1.4 inches, so it would probably work with the very low mounts like what I'm using on the Weaver V3, and it is a featherweight 7 ounces, which means that even though we're mounting these scopes forward on the barrel, the weight, that's much less weight than a lot of the other scopes, and that's important because if you have a lot of weight out here, that's mass that you have to accelerate when you're snap shooting up, and that's mass you have to accelerate and then stop. Or if you're shooting from behind cover, you're snapping out and then back in. That's mass that you have to move, that's out away from where you have good leverage on it. Now, why do I like the low mounts? There's a number of reasons. One of the primary ones is for just a better cheek weld using the conventional stock. So I get behind this rifle with it's basically the stock is almost like it's made for iron sights. So I come up behind and my eyes are right in line with the center of the scope without adding a cheek riser, which is just added bulk and clutter, and I don't like bulk and clutter. It also reduces top heaviness. If the scope's lower, there's less leverage to want to make the rifle roll over to one side or the other. And then also, this with the low mounted scope, is probably, your rifle and your scope will probably fit in most scabbards, whether on an ATV, backpack, or horseback saddle scabbard. And with the scope mounted low, we get a battle sight zero of about 18 yards near zero, and 275 yards on the distance zero, with it 1.5 inches above the bore. They're going to have this long rail, so you have the options of mounting the long eye relief scopes, the standard Scout scopes, or conventional scope, or like one of the other things I like is a red dot on my CQB battle rifles. I like a red dot mounted very far forward, a very lightweight red dot mounted far forward, and that there's not as much weight out there, so that's not too bad. As for long eye relief scopes, I've kind of concluded that the LER Scout Scope is kind of fading away, and not without cause. It harms low light collection, and so low light clarity is a little bit less, and it, like I say, puts that weight out towards the muzzle, further out on the barrel, so that's that inertia you have to overcome for snap shooting and stuff. Maybe if you had a rifle that's top ejecting, then definitely go with a long eye relief scope, a Scout type scope, to allow that to eject out the top. I really would not mind trying a Scout scope, but given how wonderfully this Weaver V3 has married with the Mossberg MVP Scout, I just, especially with this 1x binocular, I can dial that down to 1x, and I can start with that as my starting magnification, and that's a really quick for quick target acquisition and snap shooting, and I presume would be very beneficial with that both eyes open and for hunting dangerous game like water buffalo. Okay, so I've settled on the Weaver V3 for my MVP Scout, but let's go over some of the other things I do like about the MVP Scout as a rifle. I like that the stock is symmetrical, so that that allows for left or right-handed shooting as well as left-handed shooting. There's not like some rifles that have a cheek pad on one side but not the other, so it's perfectly mirrored for ambi use. I would have thought maybe it would be nice if the bolt handle maybe could clear your index trigger finger a little bit better and not tend to want to pop it up, but that's just something I can learn to work around by going over top of the bolt handle. Safety, I like that it's on the top of the rifle and I can work it forward is fire to the rear is safe, and that's whether you're shooting left-handed or right-handed, forward to fire and to the rear for safe. Unlike a crossbow safety, where when you use a crossbow safety, it is safe, pushes on one side and then pulls off on the other side. So it's when you're unconsciously being ambidextrous, that can be a little bit hazardous on the crossbow safeties. That's why I don't like those. I like the 10-round magazines. The 20-round magazines will work in this, but that's just a lot of weight. And while the 10-round magazine kind of gives this M1A, M14 look, just a bolt action version maybe, but the 20-round magazine looks a little bit out of place. And it's just really adding weight. For example, the 20-round magazine loaded up is 22.9 ounces versus 12.4 ounces for a 10-round magazine. So that's 10.5 ounces you're just having to deal with, carry both support when shooting offhand, but also that's mass that you're having if you're snap shooting. That mass and inertia that you have to overcome. Something else this rifle is really good at is just chucking an extra round into the chamber. So when your magazine runs empty, you can just grab another round out of your pocket, chuck it in the chamber, and as long as the bullet's facing forward, it pretty much picks it up and chambers. I've never had it not chamber a round, no matter how just randomly I chuck it in there. As long as the bullet tip's not facing towards the rear, you're good to go. So that's pretty handy. So if you run out of your 10-round mag, you've got some ammo in your pocket, you can just chuck it in the chamber, lock the bolt down, and you're ready to fire. Now, one thing, Jeff Cooper's kind of specifications for what the ideal Scout rifle would be. Let's kind of compare how the MVP stacks up there. Cooper specifies an 18 to 20 inch barrel. Let's compare say a 19 inch on average versus this is a 16.5 inch or 16 and a quarter inch barrel. So with the 16 and a quarter inch barrel, you give up 100 feet per second. That's 2757 feet per second on a, say, a 19-inch barrel versus 2657 on a 16.25-inch barrel, and that's 147 grain ammo. You can check out, I'll have a link to rifleshooter.com where they have articles on velocity versus barrel length. Now, that also translates to how it affects your battle sight zero, or more specifically your maximum point blank range. So if you have a 10-inch range for maximum point blank range, that's 320 yards for the 16.25-inch barrel, or 340 yards for the 19-inch barrel. So you give up about 20 yards for maximum point blank range by going with the shorter barrel. So in both cases, for both barrel lengths, the apogee at 150 yards is 5 3/10 inches high. So maybe the short barrel is not too big of a, it's not too bad of a trade-off. Now, one thing is that this rifle is a pound overweight. It's a pound heavier than Jeff Cooper's specifications. No doubt the girth of this barrel is responsible, and that is weight that's out here towards the end of the rifle. That's inertia that you have to overcome when snap shooting the rifle. And like from a low ready, coming up from a low ready and snap shooting it, that's mass that you have to accelerate to bring up, and then mass you have to stop and bring on to target. Or if you're shooting from behind cover, and it's mass that you have to move in and out from behind cover. I think it would have been, I would have liked to have seen actually something more like what's on the MVP Predator, a nice thin tapered barrel with maybe fluted barrel, and get that weight down. Knock a pound off of this rifle and it would be pretty much right into the specs of Jeff Cooper. Maybe add an inch or two to the barrel too, or at least have an option for that. Maybe you notice that we've got a little Tikka T1X looking awfully similar to the Midnight Stella. There'll be some information coming up on that in future videos. Now, what else would I like to see beyond, making this a little bit closer to the Jeff Cooper specs, especially on weight? How about an affordable bullpup? Now, wouldn't that make a bullpup bolt gun that was lightweight and, for a scout rifle? A bullpup MVP. Now, Mossberg could take guidance from like what Ruger does to Kel-Tec, where they basically steal Kel-Tec's all their great engineering designs and basically copies them, sometimes refining them and making them a little bit better. But so Mossberg could take a look at what Desert Tech is doing with their SRS bolt action bullpups, and let's have a Bullpup Scout rifle. And maybe, ideally, how about a truly ambidextrous bolt gun, where you could operate it perfectly mirrored left and right, and I guess that would actually be a lever gun, wouldn't it? Okay, so how about a bullpup lever gun? Oh, I would love one of those. It's Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextral Gunfighter. Please like, share, and subscribe. I really do like this Mossberg MVP Scout. It's a terrific rifle. And the weight, just like I said, weight's a little bit heavy. Keeping the weight down on the optic helps overcome that. It's a great shooter. Using the standard AR-10 magazines, that's pretty sweet. Terrific rifle. Terrific budget scout rifle.